The shadows are near, tales of the lost and haunted, we're here.
Welcome back to Tales of the Lost and Haunted, episode 21.
No?
Our next great adventure wasn't the search for a ghost, and it wasn't a buried treasure. It was something else, something ancient, a legend that still clings onto the cliffs of the Mississippi River, and a story that lives somewhere between history and imagination. Or was it more?
What are you doing?
This is the legend of the Piasa bird. High above the waters of the Mississippi, near present-day Alton, Illinois, there once appeared a massive image painted onto the limestone bluffs. Travelers drifting downriver would glance upward and see it watching from above, unreachable, unmoving, and impossible to ignore. The creature was described unlike anything else: horns like a stag, a face almost human, a body marked with scales, and wings suggesting it could rise or descend at any moment. Some called it a bird, others called it a dragon, and many believed it carried great power. But the Piasa was never a monster from a fireside story. It was a symbol. It was shaped by fear, belief, and the passing of time. The earliest written record comes from 1673, when Jesuit missionary Father Jacques Marquis traveled to the Mississippi alongside explorer Louis Joliet. As they passed beneath the towering bluffs, Marquis wrote of seeing painted figures high above on the rock face. Two creatures, painted in red, black, and green, stared back at them. They had horns like deer, long coiling tails, and fierce expressions that unsettled the travelers. To Marquis, raised in European Christian tradition, the images resembled demons, what he called heathen magnetos. Yet even in his fear, Marquis was struck by the skill of the artwork. He noted that the figures were painted so well, he doubted they could have been made by untrained hands, or as he called them, savages. It was a moment of wonder and misunderstanding.
Yeah. And then he flew into the river, and apparently he drowned in the river. But this picture's been repainted multiple times now. We actually know the guy that repainted this like 3 years ago because it got vandalized. One of our friends that we went to school with, his dad's a famous painter around here. He ended up repainting the whole thing. He holds the Guinness Book of World Record for the smallest Statue of Liberty drawing ever made on a... Oh yeah, it's sick. He painted the Statue of Liberty on a grain of rice.
I saw this.
That's him.
I saw this.
Long before Marquis arrived, this region was home to one of the most advanced civilizations in North America. The Mississippian culture centered at the great city of Cahokia. Roughly between 1800 and 1200 AD, Cahokia thrived just across the river. Tens of thousands lived there, building massive earthworks like Monk's Mound, still standing today as the largest prehistoric mound in the United States. The people of Cahokia told stories through symbols. Birds, serpents, and human animal figures filled their art and ceremonies. Thunderbirds ruled the sky. Horned serpents guarded the underworld. These beings were not monsters. They were guardians, messengers, and expressions of natural power. Many historians now believe the Piasa image was never meant to tell a story at all. Instead, it may have served as a warning or marker placed high above the river to signal sacred land ahead. It was meant to be seen but never reached. From what we've gathered, the name Piasa itself is indigenous in origin, though its exact meaning remains unclear. Later translations claimed it meant the bird that devours men, but there's little evidence to support that interpretation. The name appears again in history connected to Black Hawk's father, who was called Piasa. Black Hawk was a prominent Native American leader of the Sauk Nation in the early 19th century, and one of the most well-known indigenous figures in Illinois and Midwest. Yet when Black Hawk himself was asked about the image later in life, he offered no clear explanation, suggesting the original meaning may have already been lost. Then in the 1800s, the legend changed. In 1836, a former college professor named John Russell published a dramatic story about the Piasa bird. In his version, the creature terrorized villages until a brave chief led his people to defeat it. The image on the bluff, Russell claimed, was carved to remember that victory. It was a powerful story and people embraced it. Years later, Russell quietly admitted that his account had been embellished. But by then, the legend had taken on a life of its own, repeated in books, newspapers, and local lore. Meanwhile, the real image was fading. Travelers who followed Marquis disagreed on what they saw. Some described two figures, others remembered only one. Over time, pieces of the bluff collapsed. By the mid-1800s, quarrying for stone erased the original painting entirely. All that remained were sketches. An 1825 drawing labeled Flying Dragon shows a creature strikingly similar to Marquis' description, created years before Russell's story. German artists traveling the Mississippi in the 1830s also recorded what little was left of the image, preserving it just before it disappeared. Similar beings appear throughout indigenous North America. Among the Dakota people, legends tell of thunderbirds, immense creatures tied to storms and sky. Across the Mississippi Valley, pottery and carvings reveal dragon-like forms, suggesting a shared language of symbols rather than a single monster story. Even across the world, the pattern feels familiar. A powerful creature, a landscape shaped by story, and a legend that refuses to fade. In the 20th century, the Piasa returned, but not as it once was. Today, people visit the Piasa Park to see the painting, but what they're really standing before is a question. Was the Piasa ever meant to be a creature at all? Or was it a symbol, misunderstood? Or something we no longer have the language to explain? And the truth lies somewhere between stone and memory. Because the real mystery isn't whether the Piasa bird was real. It's why, after centuries of change, we still feel its presence watching from the bluffs. And why some legends refuse to let us decide where history ends and imagination begins. Thanks for watching. This is Tales of the Lost and Haunted. If you like stories like these, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram. And as always, don't forget to bring your coffee and flashlights and stay tuned for the next episode.